Have you ever heard of a village where every sound disappears? A village that has been hiding a dark secret for generations. Today, I will take you to a place where no one dares to speak. Every step you take, every whisper of wind, every shadow, feels like it is watching you. And beneath the old, forgotten well, something waits. Something that could change everything you know. Will you dare to discover the truth? The road was narrow and covered with dust. A soft breeze moved through the tall grass on both sides. Ethan walked slowly, his shoes sinking into the uneven ground. The sun was low, painting the sky in shades of orange and gray. Ahead, he saw the village, quiet, still, almost lifeless. There were wooden houses with faded roofs. Doors hung open, but no one stood at the doorways. The air felt heavy, filled with the smell of damp earth. He called out, his voice echoing against the walls. There was no answer, only the rustling of dry leaves. A dog lay motionless beside a cart. Its eyes were open, staring at something that was not there. Ethan's heart began to beat faster. He stepped closer to a house. Inside, a chair was overturned. A bowl of rice sat cold on the table. A single spoon lay on the floor. He touched the doorframe, it was still warm from the sun. Someone had been here not long ago. He listened carefully, holding his breath. Somewhere far away, a faint sound whispered through the air. It was like humming, low and distant. He followed it down a narrow path between two houses. The sound grew louder. He turned a corner and saw a well. Its stones were old and dark with moss. The humming came from inside. Ethan leaned over the edge, peering into the shadows. The air from the well was cool and smelled of wet stone. He whispered, asking if someone was there. No answer. Only the echo of his own words. Then he saw it, a small reflection deep below. Like eyes. Watching him. His throat tightened. He tried to step back, but his feet would not move. The humming stopped. The silence returned, thicker than before. The reflection vanished. And from behind him, a soft breath touched his neck. Ethan turned around. No one was there, but the ground trembled slightly beneath his feet. He could hear footsteps now, slow, dragging, coming closer. He froze, his eyes wide. The air grew colder. A chill ran down his spine. From the shadows between the houses, figures began to appear. Men, women, children, silent, motionless, their eyes wide open. They stood in a circle, watching him. Ethan tried to speak, but no sound came out. The people did not blink. Their lips began to move, but no words formed. Only a hollow whisper filled the air, like wind through dry grass. His heart pounded so loudly it drowned out everything else. The figures stepped closer, their faces pale and expressionless. One of them raised a hand and pointed at him. Ethan stepped back, but his legs felt heavy. He wanted to run, but the village had grown darker. The sky turned gray, the air thick with silence. Somewhere behind him, the well began to hum again. This time, it sounded like laughter, soft, broken, endless. Ethan looked around, searching for a way out. But the path he came from was gone. Only houses surrounded him now, closing in slowly. Their doors creaked open, one by one. Inside each doorway, a shadow waited. The first drop of rain touched his face. Cold, sharp, carrying the smell of iron. Ethan took a step forward. Every house began to whisper his name. Each voice sounded like his own. The wind rose, swirling dust through the air. The people did not move, but their eyes followed him. He could feel them inside his head, repeating every thought. The sound of the well grew louder, like something climbing up from below. He turned toward it again, his body trembling. The reflection was back, clearer now. It was not eyes this time. It was a face. His own. He stared, unable to breathe. The reflection smiled. And above the well, the air began to ripple, like heat over sand. A hand reached out from the darkness below, wet and pale. It reached for him, pulling the silence even closer around his ears. The humming turned into a voice. It whispered something soft, something familiar. It spoke his name again. This time, from inside his mind. Ethan stepped closer to the well. The ground beneath him began to crack. The houses groaned as if alive. He could feel something pulling him forward, something he could not see. The faces around him started to fade, melting into mist. Only their eyes remained, floating in the gray air. He felt their gaze burning into his skin. The reflection in the well smiled wider, teeth glimmering faintly. Ethan reached out his hand. The cold air wrapped around his fingers. He leaned closer to the well, unable to stop himself. Ethan's hand hovered over the edge of the well. The cold air coiled around his fingers like smoke. He could feel something beneath the surface, alive, breathing, waiting. The reflection in the dark water stared back at him with his own face, but the eyes were wrong. They were deeper, darker, and they did not blink. A low vibration ran through the ground. The stones of the well trembled. Dust fell from the rooftops. Ethan stepped back, his breath shallow, his heart beating against his ribs. The air was growing heavier with every passing second. The villagers were still there, motionless, silent. Their faces were pale, their eyes glassy like old marbles. They did not move, but Ethan could feel their attention pressing against him. He took another step back. The humming from the well changed. It became slower, deeper, almost like a voice breathing his name through water. Ethan. The sound was faint but clear. It came from below, rising through the well like a sigh. He froze. His name echoed again, stronger this time. Ethan. He tried to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. He looked at the villagers. None of them moved, yet their lips twitched slightly, as if they too were whispering his name. He wanted to run, but his legs were numb. The ground pulsed beneath his feet like a living thing. A woman in the front of the silent crowd slowly raised her hand. Her eyes were hollow, and her skin was gray, almost translucent. When she opened her mouth, a faint sound escaped, like air escaping from a broken flute. Her lips formed a single word. Listen. Ethan's chest tightened. He shook his head. He did not want to listen. But the sound from the well grew louder, forcing its way into his ears. It was not humming anymore. It was a song. A melody, slow, ancient, filled with sorrow. Each note crawled under his skin. He felt dizzy, his mind spinning with images that were not his own. Flashes of faces. Children laughing near the well. Men drawing water. Women singing while washing clothes. Then, a scream. The images darkened. He saw water spilling from the well, black and thick like tar. He saw people falling to the ground, clutching their throats. He saw the village fade into silence, one by one, until nothing remained but the echo of their voices. Ethan gasped, stepping back. The vision vanished. The village around him looked the same, but now it felt alive in the wrong way. Every house seemed to watch him. Every window looked like an open eye. He turned to run. The path was still gone. In its place stood a row of trees that had not been there before. Their branches reached upward like twisted fingers. The wind passed through them, creating a sound like whispering voices. Do not leave, the voices said. Stay. Stay and listen. Ethan covered his ears and shouted. But even his own voice sounded distant, swallowed by the air. He could hear the song still playing beneath everything, soft, endless, pulling him back to the well. His body moved without his control. Step by step, he returned to the center of the village. The villagers parted to make way for him. Their heads turned in unison, eyes following his every movement. He tried not to look at them, but he could feel their stares crawling over his skin. When he reached the well again, he looked down. The reflection had changed. Now it showed not one face, but many. All of them were him, Ethan after Ethan after Ethan, each one smiling, each one whispering. Join us, the reflection said. End the silence. He shook his head. No, he said, his voice trembling. The reflections tilted their heads. You already belong here, they replied. The air around him grew darker, the sky almost black. The sun vanished behind thick gray clouds. The shadows of the villagers stretched longer, reaching toward him like crawling hands. The well began to glow faintly, a pale blue light rising from its depths. Ethan could feel his thoughts fading, replaced by strange memories, memories of walking these same streets, of drawing water from the same well, of living in this village long ago. But that was impossible. He had never been here before. Or had he? His heartbeat slowed. The song grew softer, almost gentle now. It sounded like comfort. It sounded like home. He leaned closer to the well. The blue light touched his face. The air smelled of rain and old earth. For a brief moment, he felt peace. Then, something cold grabbed his wrist. He screamed and tried to pull away. A pale hand had emerged from the light, gripping him tightly. Its skin was wet and smooth, like stone soaked in water. The grip was impossibly strong. He pulled harder, but another hand appeared, catching his other arm. Then another. Dozens of hands rose from the well, all reaching for him. Their fingers wrapped around his arms, his neck, his shoulders. Each touch burned with freezing cold. The villagers began to move now, slowly, all at once. Their mouths opened wide, but there was still no sound. There the wind finally stilled. The shadows retreated, folding back into the corners of the village. The villagers stood still once more, as if frozen in time. The well rested, calm and dark, its surface reflecting the fading sunlight. A soft rustle passed through the trees. The dog lifted its head, sniffed the air, and then settled back down. The streets were empty, silent, yet the air held a strange weight. It was as if the village itself was holding its breath. For a long moment, nothing moved. The sun dipped lower, casting long, golden shadows across the rooftops. The silence felt complete, almost peaceful, yet beneath it lay the memory of the song, the hands, and the reflections. The village had returned to its eternal calm, but it was a calm that demanded respect. Travelers who passed by would see nothing unusual. The houses looked abandoned, yet intact. The well appeared ordinary, still, reflecting only the sky above. The wind whispered faintly through the leaves, carrying a subtle warning. And somewhere, deep within the water, a faint shimmer remained. A reflection, silent and patient. It waited, but it did not need to hurry. The village had claimed another soul, and the story of Ethan would become one more layer in its history. Night fell slowly. The stars appeared in the sky, twinkling faintly over the silent village. The dog lay quietly by the cart, its eyes watching, guarding. The world outside continued, unaware of the village that slept in shadows. And as the moon rose, casting silver light over the rooftops, the well whispered softly. A promise. And a warning intertwined. Silence is forever. The village was quiet once more. Eternal. Unbroken. Waiting. Dash dash dash.